So question 6 is another numerical question. First part is saying it's giving you the details of the equation and it's crossing the x-axis at q. First part says show that the x-coordinate of q lies between 2.1 and 2.2. Well, that should be then when x is 2.1, if that's to work, y should be negative, and when x is 2.2, y is going to be positive. So let's have a look. Going to make y equals f of x. F of x equals 2 cos half x squared plus x cubed minus 3x minus 2. And so let's have a look at f 2.1. So as before, with ClassWiz, put that formula into it, make sure the calculator is set up in radians, and it's going to be 2 cos x squared plus x minus 3x minus 2. That's the formula, just check that's correct, looks like it. Okay, let's calc then of 2.1. And that gives me a value of minus 0.224, which I am expecting should be negative. Let's have a look at f of 2.2 then. It's going back on 2.2, 0.546. So as with the previous question again, we have we've got a sign changing that function, and it is continuous between x is 2.1 and 2.2. So I think for 2 marks that's done that. That's part A. Let's have a look at part B. Back to the question then. It's showing that the x-coordinates of R is a solution of a gas equation. Okay, so R, it tells you is a minimum turning point. So we know, therefore, that dy dx equals 0 at R. What is dy dx? Going back to that again, it's going to be minus 2 sine half x squared times by the derivative of half x squared, which is x. So that's dealt with that bit. Now we're going to differentiate x cubed, so that is plus 3x squared. We've got minus 3x, which differentiates to minus 3, and then of course the minus 2 disappears. So I'm just going back to the form I'm trying to show. It's looking at x is shown as a square root, because obviously there's several ways you can rearrange that. It's a square root, so it's looking, oh sorry, that's a turning point, so that equals 0. It's looking as if I'm going to isolate that term there, the 3x squared. So let's write that down, 3x squared equals 2x sine half x squared plus 3. X squared equals 2 over 3 x sine plus 3 over 3, so that becomes plus 1. Looking at the format I'm trying to get in, that's looking quite hopeful. Yep, just got to rearrange that slightly, and it's going to be square rooted, so x equals square root of 1 plus 2 over 3 x sine half x squared, which is, I believe, what we're trying to get. Yep. So that's shown that. Finally, again, we're now going to use that as an iteration formula to find the values of x1 and x2 if x0 equals 1.3. So going back to that formula there, if I'm going to make x to the n plus 1 equals 1 plus 2 over 3 xn sine half xn squared. So I'm just doing that. x0 equals 1.3. So back out where class is. Let's put that formula in carefully. So square root 1 plus 2 over 3 x sine 1 over 2 x squared, close brackets. So that is my formula. Let's just check that that matches the one I've worked out. That's looking good. So make sure that's gone clear. Calculate 1.3. Calc, and in that gives me x1 equals 1.28384, just rounding it off to far more decimal places than I actually need at the moment. x2 equals, so I'm going to calc with the answer of what I've just worked out, equals, that confirms it's 1.2838, and equals 1.27600. So the question finally wants x1 and x2 to 3 decimal places. 1.284, 1.276,